Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, I will talk about parsing JSON result files and getting information from it and maybe use that to create a record or find a record and update record values. I have a JSON file which looks something like this. And that means that it contains, for instance, a data section with an array of elements coming back. And I also have a second part in here, paging, for instance, with some other information. Imagine that I'm interested in picking up the ISBN and the title from this document, from this JSON. Well, I created a standard out-of-the-box Roboflow workflow, and if I run that workflow, show log, you will see that what does it find? It finds ISBN with a number, and then it finds ISBN with a number, twice the clean value. So you might think, okay, cool, I have apparently two records in there with an ISBN number. But then I see the title. If I have two ISBNs, I'm assuming I have two titles, but I'm picking up the raw value and I'm cleaning it up, and I only find one. Why is this? Well, parsing what I would call a first level JSON file is pretty doable out of the box without too much scripting, because you can use regular expressions to extract parts from your JSON. But in this example, I have an ISBN number here, but as a subpart of this element, there is related products, also ISBN. And that is why, although in this example file there's only one element, it finds two ISBN numbers, one here and one down below in the related section. So in the related products section. So that is a problem because it's wrong. Although if you have simple parsing, as you saw, if you have a simple syntax with not nested sub-elements, then this workflow out of the box can work pretty well. What I did in this workflow is define a parameter that, and this is is a regular expression. It says look for any part that has this syntax, which is ISBN 13, then a quote, here also a quote, it's escaped, backslash, and backslash means a white space, so and with a star after it means any number of times, so 0 to maybe 10 spaces or whatever. Then a colon, then again white spaces, any number of time, and then some value between quotes. That's how I extract it, and that will give you back a list with the values semicolon separated. If you do the instruction as I will show you in a second. And I do the same for title, and then I'm saying, okay, what am I going to strip? Of course, if I'm going to use that ISBN value, I am going to get back ISBN 13, colon, and the value, but I only want that value. So I just configured here strip, and I'm saying I'm going to write this in this Cumulus field. I didn't go as far as completing the complete workflow. I just wanted to show what goes wrong. So what I do is I read the JSON text file that comes in, and then I'm processing the row of my table, my parameter table here. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, store subpart of text. And here you see, and this is a simple substring, but the thing that is special about it is I prefixed it with regex XX. If you just do regex, it takes the first instance of your value you're looking for. Regex XX looks for any value, and then it comes back with semicolons. The normal syntax for this instruction would be that you would just say, give me the piece of text from 0 for 5 characters, or from 10 for 3 characters. That's also how this subpart works, but this is a special function of this subpart. If you prefix it with regex or regex xx, it will extract, in this case, for instance, that ISBN, which is the raw, which you saw then in the logging, and then I'm getting that raw part, and I'm splitting up because I'm getting multiple values, comma, semicolon separated, and I'm parsing that, and that was what you saw here. Show log, and so raw, then clean value 1, clean value 2. And you see it has this semicolon and then the second ISBN section. So I'm parsing this. And in the event of the title, it just finds one instance and results in this. So with Roboflow, you can easily parse JSON. But if the JSON is so complex that it has sublevels which have actually the same property names, then you're stuck. And then it would require a scripting of maybe 100 or more actions, a pretty complicated action script, which is not impossible. I've done it before, but not ideal. So there is a plugin for Roboflow which is called JSON plugin. Like there's also a Dropbox plugin or an Amazon plugin or a special URL plugin. And so there's several plugins available on the market for Roboflow. If you need any, just contact me. But they allow you to do a little extra thing, which is add a functionality to Roboflow. If you look in your actions, and I'm just clicking anywhere, so don't mind me, don't look at what I'm clicking. It's this what I want to show you. Here, suddenly when you installed it correctly, there will be a new section, a new group, a new category, and in this case it's the JSON. As I said, it could be Dropbox or any other of the other plugins, Excel to import or export Excel, etc. But this guy is JSON. And what does JSON have? It only has one instruction. It can store a part of a JSON text file. Now, how does this work? Well, maybe you are familiar with the syntax of expat, which is a way to extract value from an XML file. Well, I tried to create something similar. What I'm doing is, if we take a closer look at the XML file, is I'm specifying, imagine that I want to pick up data and then the ISBN 13. Well, I would do something like this, data, ISBN 13. Now, what's wrong with this syntax? If I just want to extract data or something that's a root level, this would be enough. If data is a simple element, you just want to extract that, then there you go, you pick up data. If I do this, if I use this instruction and just put in there that the JSON path that I'm looking for is data, it will return this complete section. But if you want a sublevel, then it could be that this is nested, but not in an array, but in a normal way, and then data ISBN would return the ISBN from the data section. However, in this case, this is an array. So a very common used syntax for array elements is this. And then you could say, I want element 0. It's 0 based. So I could say, I want element 0, for instance, and then this would give you element 0. And then you could do, for instance, afterwards, you would get the ISBN number, 13. This will get you from the first element of the data array, it will get you the ISBN. And so this is the syntax that you can use. You can have some more elaborate examples of syntax. So let me put this in here like that. So if if you put it like this, and you just say, I want this, for instance, then it will return you that complete element, the full JSON style as a piece of text. Now, there are some things that can help you, because if you don't know upfront how many elements there are and you want all of them, then you can ask for the count, which will return you, for instance, the count in a file. In the example file we're going to use is there are 2 elements in there, so I want this. But if you want to loop over these elements, it could be useful that it returns you a counter. And that counter will look like this. It will say 0:1. You will see later in the workflow why this is useful. I can do then process parts of a split text. Separator is semicolon, and then it loops with element 0, element 1, element 2, etc., etc. What you also can do is that you can specify here this, and that means that it is going to get you that it is going to get you elements with all values. So it will be value 1 semicolon value 2. And so as I said, maybe I should put this here as well. So this will return you that. This will return you the complete element. This will give you a complete element if it's a JSON style element, and this will return you the value. And then, as I said, this will return you that, and this will give you value 1, value 2. And you can take it even to a next step if you say, okay, but I don't like the semicolon. I can say, hey, I want a comma, and then it will return you the value in a comma style. And so this gives you a full, a complete tool for extracting the parts from a JSON file. Let's take a closer look of what it does and how I do this. So I do cancel here, and I'm going to pick up the same file as I had before with 1 element in it, and I'm pasting it here, and then I'm saying here start. So start. It's going to process it, and what is it doing? Well, it is, let me do a show log, and I have some debug information in there so you can see the steps. It first asks for that counter, and the counter is only 1 element, so it's not 0, 1, 2, 3, but it's 0. Then the next step is that it has some parameter file, which I will show you later, and it builds what I call the JSON path. What do I need to pick up? And then this is the name under which I'm storing it internally, which I will explain in a minute. So here it says, oh, I find it. So then it loops to the next and to the next, but in this case there's only 1 element, so there's no looping. So it does the same thing for title, and notice it does also this for instance, related products. Now, related products, I specified in my parameter that I wanted like this, with everything with a semicolon. So that's why, if we go back to understand this syntax, under data, the first element, related products, and then in the related products, everything, comma separated, and that value. Let's take a look. In the JSON, it's data going to related products and going to ISBN. And because this again is an array, so it could be multiple values. If it's just single level and it's just this instead of the array, then it's just related products colon ISBN. Okay, so next step is then, once I have parse the JSON. I have this in memory of Roboflow, and then I'm going to loop over that same thing again, and now I'm going to start creating my records. And so I create the record. I could do a find. In this example, I'm just doing create, and I'm saying, okay, I have the keywords value, which was this, and I was internally concatenating this with underscores to have a separator afterwards. And this is some debug information. I'm saying, okay, I'm picking up the first value from that element, and the first element is this, and then doing the same for record name, doing the same for the notes field, which was the related, and you can see that it now nicely picks up all the values. So if I have a look in Cumulus, I created here a record, and in the record I have a record name normally, and let's go to the standard asset handling set, which gives me the record name, which gave me the keywords, which was the ISBN, and which was the notes, which is the related. So if I repeat that same example with a second, and this is another JSON that has two elements, and just for the sake of example, I'm going to add here to in the second record a second related ISBN. So let's call that 98576, like that. And where is it? JSON drop processed. So I'm going to pick it up from the processed folder here, and that's what it's going to drop. So there we go. Going to the workflow. Oh, that's not it. Going to the workflow here and start. And we can look immediately at the result here. It has created this record. It says a wish on Garden Street, and then the second record is called Second Wish on Gardenia Street. So if I look inside, the first one has picked up this value with the related, and this next record has picked up this value with the ISBN and here the related, and the notes had the related, and it is comma separated. And so now again I can start processing this. I could do a loop onto this guy and maybe create a table field, and in a table field create these items, or search again for these items. And so the possibilities are limitless. Or I could process this and look up the records and set them as related records. Many possibilities. But the key thing is that instead of parsing it as a text, which might be very difficult and prone for errors, because in JSON some characters are escaped, and if you don't watch out and don't build that into unescape, then you might end up with strange values. While if you use a library, and this uses the org.json.simple, which is a very simple JSON library, just with a parser and an ability to recognize the elements, it gives you the opportunity to have a very easy way of parsing the records. A final quick look at how I did it technically is first I'm processing, well, first I'm storing the root. So we know that we're interested only in the data section, so I created a parameter that says data colon, and so that's what my starting point going to be. And the first thing I'm doing is I'm asking from that start part, give me the counter, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's ensuring me that that is, and that's what I'm outputting then, pre-processing. And then parts of split text to split is that text file, is the different title, ISBN, and related that I'm picking up. And then I'm and in that part I'm actually storing the JSON root, which is the index, and because the loop is going to each element of that counter, as I said, 0, semicolon 1, 0, etc. So this is says for the first element, this is 0. For the second element, this is 1, etc., etc. And that is then for each of these elements of the parameter table is saying, okay, I'm picking up the JSON path with the root I just created, and I append then, for instance, ISBN 13. And then I say pick up, that's that special instruction from this JSON category, which says the JSON text file. Well, use the JSON path to retrieve the value. And it's that simple. So, and then I'm storing a value. Why am I doing this? You already have value, true, but what I'm trying to do is maybe here, it could go to the next level, and it could be that this is the actual value, but that value, I only need the 3 first letters. Then you could add some scripting action here, saying, okay, give me the sub part from 0 to 3. And then you have, so that's why that is additional step is there. It's not necessary. And then I'm writing it to log, and then I'm concatenating. So I'm picking up the value that I just had already stored from previous. Then I'm picking the calculated value and appending that to the previous value, and then adding a separator. And when I'm done with that, I have in memory these values, and these values are each nicely stored with a name. Then I open the catalog that I specified, and I'm processing that same counter again, 0, 1, 2, 3. But unfortunately, the internal tables that we're going to talk to in Roboflow are 1 based. So it's not 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, for instance. So that's why I'm incrementing the index that I got to index 2, and then I'm creating a record. At this point, instead of creating a record, I could also have something stored here like a query, which finds the record based on the data in this. And so that means that you would have to parse it up front to pick up some kind of value and to know what to use. But in this case, I'm just picking up the field name, which is row 3. And that's the Cumulus field name I'm going to use. I'm writing it. Then I know that internally I stored with that name of that Cumulus field and a suffix field. I stored the actual value, and I had it separated with 4 underscores as a separator, which I hope is not present in the text that I'm processing. And then I'm finding the value. I'm saying I have an array, and that array, in the array, I pick up element number, which is the index, the incremented index. And then that's what I'm setting to the record field value. So it's all very straightforward. And if you look at it, you have about 25 lines of code to accomplish the same thing and not even be sure that it is 100% accurate. You would have to write at least 5 times as much action script to get to this result. So JSON plugin is a plugin for Roboflow, which makes it just a little bit easier and more accurate to extract data from your JSON file that maybe is received by a URL call or anything else. And of course, it has a very simple or complex data structure. It can be extracted based on this kind of syntax. So, thank you for joining this training movie, and hope to see you in the next one.